All right. Morning, everyone. Welcome to Engineering Weekly. Looks like we have a few new people on the call. Yeah, John, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm John Slady. I'm currently the CTO of Smart Capital. We're trying to democratize investment into venture capital. So essentially allow accredited and unaccredited investors to pool money together and invest into a portfolio of startups. And kind of ran into Market Protocol through the Colorado blockchain Slack, and was super interested in what you guys are doing. I think it makes a ton of sense to do assets on the blockchain and derivatives, and went to the Ethereum meetup last night and got to talk to Robert a little bit, and it was pretty cool. So I picked up an issue, so I'm trying to help out a little bit, and yeah, just interested to learn more.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for joining us today. I
Yeah.
appreciate you picking up some issues and kind of diving in. Yeah, I've gotten to know Paul recently and kind of learned about your project too, and pretty excited about it in general. Yeah, I'm glad you're joining us today.
Cool. Thanks.
Looks like there's one other new person on the call. Isotopes CC, do you want to introduce yourself? All right, well, maybe not. Anyways, just want to welcome everyone. Feel free, everyone, to participate. Typically, we kind of go through some of the things that happened this week, and then kind of some issues from last week, and then the issues that we're facing coming up, and kind of what's on the agenda. We actually didn't have any new contributors this week that actually created PRs, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but Anderson actually finally put together the list of contributors, and there's over 40. So I'm pretty excited about that. Even though there's no new ones today, I think everyone should be really proud that there's 40 contributors to our project. That's awesome. And so I guess we can just kind of go right into some of the things from last week that were outstanding. I know I did not add contributor guidelines to Market Protocol. As did you get them added to the website?
Yeah, Phil. So I've added to the website as well as for the market.js as well. So those two are covered.
Cool. So it's just Robert and I to get in on the other repos.
Yes, I need to add it to the market API.
Cool. I'll make sure to try to get that done myself this week also. So I don't know if everyone's seen the new additions to the website, but marketprotocol.io, they should be propagated across CloudFront now, so it should work. But there's the About page, the Partners page, and updated team page. So that was pretty awesome that we got that all out this week. And there's the timeline on the About page as well. Patrick, do you want to talk a little bit about the SEO stuff?
Sure. Yeah, actually, I just reran the tests, and we've actually seen a pretty large increase in rankings. All of the key terms that we have on the spreadsheet are now in the top 10. So things like decentralized derivatives, blockchain, a lot of the combinations with market on Ethereum, trustless trading, Ethereum. These are all the average return on the search is now 8. So we've fallen from 33, and then we're hovering around 15. So maybe the latest round of changes that Arun made with the images, the alt tags, and such have helped us out quite a bit.
Cool. Do you have any handle on how quickly, like last night, essentially I pushed the changes to the site. Do you have any idea how quickly those propagate to search results?
It seems pretty quickly. It just depends on the crawling frequency. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that time would be.
Cool.
And it's interesting. Some of the other engines, like I ran DuckDuckGo, and we're actually, I think the first result returned either for Ethereum derivatives exchange or decentralized derivatives, which is kind of surprising, ranking higher than on Google. But I've used Google as the standard for the spreadsheet.
Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions on SEO stuff?
Is there anything on our end that we can do to help that improve, maybe somehow still in the future?
Yeah, there are some issues open that talk about. I think the biggest thing we can do now is just increase the amount of quality original content, as we've talked about before. So there are still some issues open that describe how we might bring more of the content from the white paper into the site, change the structure of the site a little bit more, so there's more pages with content and internavigation between them. Yeah.
Please forward me those issues so that I can read through them and maybe help out somehow.
Okay.
Thanks.
Patrick, just on the same note, I know we had talked about making the PDFs more digestible for SEO. Do you have more clarity on what that might take?
I have an article that talks about that. Basically, in content in PDFs should get indexed. I'm just not sure it has the same impact on search results as if it was site content that was more readily a part of the site. So I'll share that article with you, and maybe we can actually elaborate that in another issue.
Okay, sounds great. All right, so I think the next big thing to kind of talk about and work through is kind of the idea all around of how we want to be creating releases, both with release notes and just NPM packages. There's been a lot of different options thrown out with Gitflow and some Makefile automation as well. So I kind of want to open up that discussion. Recently, I just added to the Solidity smart contracts, at least some Travis functionality that should, upon committing to master and tagging master, create an NPM release at the same time. And then it's just a matter of filling out release notes once that's done. So there's some automation there, but I want to talk about that more holistically. I know Eswar has done some research on Gitflow. Maybe we can start there as an introduction to that.
Sure, Phil. Yeah, so typically in the Stack Overflow answer, what I found is that most of them kind of use the Gitflow extension that is already available. So what it kind of does is it kind of we can add the releases as well as few tags to that, and it will automatically publish to the feature branch, whatever is there. So they also kind of follow creating branches and merging pull requests in the form of feature as well as hot fixes. So if there so typically if there's any feature, the branch will have feature / whatever the feature name is, and for the hot fixes, let's say any bug fixes that needs to be done and to have to go to production, they kind of name it as hot fixes / whatever the issue that we are trying to fix there. So that's the overall idea of how the Stack Overflow answer suggested to use Git and as well as the Gitflow in order to maintain releases as well as tags. So, but I haven't actually kind of explored that route yet. So if anyone else has anything to add, feel free to.
Yeah, I'm going to post a link. It's an old article, but I think if you're not familiar with Gitflow and how it works, that's the link. Check that out. It's pretty straightforward, and it just really depends upon, it's always some sort of working agreement between the group to say, hey, is this what we really want to use? I think it's a very valid model. I've followed it in the past. We could scale it down if it's too complex for our needs, but in general, I think it's a pretty good workflow.
John, what are you guys using over at Smart Capital?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was looking at the GitFlow documentation. So in my past, I've used GitFlow a bunch, and it worked pretty well, but we kind of made our own like slightly lesser version of it. So we'd always create feature branches or hotfix branches for everything, and we'd have like a develop branch off of master, and then we'd go through like a dev workflow process of QA and automated tests and all that, and then move it up there, and then we have like regression tests run against that, and then move that into develop, and then deploy that. So we never touch master, obviously to the very end, just like GitFlow. Right now, Smart Capital, we don't have a huge dev team, so it's even more less version of that, but very similar to what you guys are talking about.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for that. It's helpful for sure. The other part of it, so if I don't fully have, I haven't used GitFlow fully yet. So if we do that, how do the release notes get generated? Can we automate that process as well?
Yeah. So I would think that the release notes would be, if we do the commit messages correctly, then it should be a culmination of the commit messages. Does that make sense? And so I'm trying to think of, I've got to believe there's a package or a tool out there to be able to coalesce those things and just simply create the release notes.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, even if there's some manual intervention, but at least some of the structure would already be there for the releases of the packages, right? So then you could just maybe go in and clean it up and, modify the release notes to be slightly more readable than some of the commit messages that I know I'm responsible for.
I know, it's just as we get into this, it gets a little bit more formal, and there's a reason for it, right? I mean, we used to use the git commit messages at Gaia, and the QA was really responsible. It was half automated, half manual, because what you do is you get all the commit messages and you look at them like, oh yeah, that doesn't quite make any sense. So it happens. But if we just agree that we're targeting our commit messages for the release and just go with that, I think we'll get there. We'll get 90% the way there.
Cool. Sounds great. So yeah, that was really the only major topic of discussion that we had for today. There's some other stuff floating around, but definitely want to give some time to anyone else that wants to bring a topic up.
Did we had talked about the Market.js project as well as Web3. Do you want to we've got a little time, you want to spend time here chatting about the beta version versus the shipping version? Or do you want to take that offline?
I'm happy to talk about it here. It may eat up some time. Just want to make sure there's nothing else maybe before we move into that might be quicker. So just want to, again, open it up real quick, and then if not, we can just dive into that.
One other comment on just the release process and the flow. We had a couple of working agreements with the front end and back end team some time ago, and we just agreed upon there were certain things we wouldn't do with the repos. I can share that with the team. It's just kind of a bullet pointed list. And if we want to use that as sort of a basis, things like, whether we use it or not is a whole different story, but like, you never merge your own pull request, right? You always need someone to review it. We always take and make a feature branch, right? And if you break something, which branches can break and which can't break, right? And if you do break something, you need to go back and fix it as a priority because other people might be working on it. So just those general guidelines, it might be helpful to introduce some of that now. And we can pick and choose what makes sense, because I think it really does apply to, if we're going to start using something like GitFlow in a release process, I really think that some of that could be important. And then as new people come on board, it's like, hey, here's a list of guidelines to work by. And I think we do have some of that in the contributor guidelines. In fact, the ones I read through with Eswar that when he added those to Market.js. So just kind of throwing that out there to figure out what the next step is with that.
Yeah, that definitely sounds good. I mean, some of the structure is certainly helpful. There's certain repos that I think are there's more contributors to than others, so it may make sense to have some of those restrictions in place. Where as others, there's only a few people contributing, so it might be kind of cumbersome to have needed reviews. But as we scale, I think that's great for all the repos for sure.
Okay, I'll put some stuff out there and just as a straw man and see what you guys think, and we can pick and choose from it, or ignore it altogether. It's entirely up to the group.
I also just wanted to mention that I've gotten recently some feedback from some older contributors that have started again looking at the project and are really excited about the project board and how organized that is, and as a place to find work across all the repos. So I think the feedback there is good. I know we've put a lot of time into talking about all the different ways to kind of organize that, and it may not be perfect. And I know that there's some manual intervention there, but so far, I personally use it all the time and like it. And other people have told me that they're also referencing it now, and it's a helpful tool. So congratulations on that. And we always spent probably 4 of these meetings talking about that project board. Okay, so I guess I just want to real quick ask John, as someone that's coming into our project, how easy or hard was it to kind of understand and use the READMEs and the guidelines, and as a new contributor to kind of come on board?
Yeah, actually, I think it was pretty good. I was impressed with the README. So that's one thing I'm big on, is be able to like get the app running, locally quickly. And yeah, I went through it, and I had Market Protocol running, and on the Rinkeby testnet, it was awesome. So kudos to that. I struggled a little bit, I think, with finding an open issue. I think just because you didn't have that much on Gitcoin at the time, but in general, I think you have things set up pretty good. I looked at the docs for contributing, and yeah, I noticed that you had Gitflow in there. So I was actually gonna ask, like, do you follow like strictly, or is it kind of loosely following Gitflow? So there's some ambiguity there, but I was going to reach out and in the engineering channel on Discord and start pinging you guys with more questions. So yeah, I'm super early in it. I'm like just now starting to actually like try to write some code to fix that issue. But for the very first on ramp, I thought it was pretty good.
Cool. That's great feedback. I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right, so I guess we're jumping into Web3 and typings now then, it sounds like. So Ezra, do you want to kick us off in that discussion?
Perfect. Yeah, so like yesterday I was kind of trying to get the Web3 working with the market.js repo. So they were like, I was trying to follow the 0x setup, whatever they have kind of followed. So the same code base, like since we have rollup, when I was trying to kind of initialize a Web3 function, so a Web3 class, basically it's giving a maximum stack trace error in the rollup. Along with that, like some utility functions, packages that I've tried to use from the 0x project, it gave me a similar error in the rollup. So I'm not really sure like how to resolve these rollup errors. I mean, 0x project doesn't seem to have rollup setup, so that's the reason this is working, and we are kind of stuck with some issues while trying to kind of build the repo.
Do you think, Eswar, the issues that we're dealing with it sounds like the rollup issues are fixed, and I think there's some issues just with the build, but do you see the path of least resistance being working with the beta version of Web3? Because it sounded like you were having some troubles on the 20.0.20.6 version. And so I made a comment in the issue or the PR, and I don't have the experience with Web3 to know, is it a solid project? Is it one of those, you know how when you start working with specific software and you get a feel for it, and that feels like, oh, wow, even though it's beta, it's pretty solid, and you get you can kind of get a sense of the developers and how they're working with the code. And if that's the case, then the beta version might be the way for us to go. But if we've had iffy experiences with the shipping version of Web3 and it's been buggy, or we need to do a lot of workarounds, then chances are beta could be very much like that or worse. So that was the general feel for what do we think of Web3 in general as a project, and then what was our experience with it?
Yeah, so with respect to beta version, like I haven't kind of explored Web3 1.0 as such, but we are using Web3 0.20 version throughout the app, and till now we haven't seen any specific issue with respect to that version at least. So
because time is of the essence, and so I would err on the side of whatever's quicker. And we thought that, .20.6 was going to be a little bit quicker for us. So that's really the thing I just want to throw out there. If our experience has been good and it's been pretty stable, chances are the beta version, it's been out there for about a year, might be the same. And if it's saving us some time, then that would sway my decision to say, well, let's go ahead and try to use the beta version. Phil, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I know we kind of talked about it previously, and my concern was just that we may spend a lot of time dealing with kind of breaking changes on their end, or as they iterate through issues, because obviously there's a reason it's been in beta for a year, which seems like kind of a long beta for the life cycle of most blockchain projects at the moment. I don't have much experience with Rollup personally, so I can't speak to how easy those problems may be to solve. I think the only other thing to consider is time to market for people that are building on top of us, right? So if they're already locked into the production version of Web3, and now we're giving them a dependency to the beta version, I don't know how long that's supposed to be in beta. So that's my only concern there, right? Is going to a version that's not currently production ready. So it's a hard call to make at this point without more clarity into that project. But I think that it's worth figuring out how, at least spending a teeny bit more time to understand the roll-up issues on my end to make that call from a business perspective.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a little bit of digging into the roll-up before we dismiss .20.6.
I think it might be worth it. I mean, as well, do you feel like it's just dead in the water? Like there's no way to get Rollup working with the current version?
So at least with 20.6, I wasn't able to. So I'm just trying to kind of see if the older versions are giving the similar error, or like there is any stable version like through which we can work with Rollup. So I'm just going to downgrade even on 0.20 to a bit earlier versions and see how that works out.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's worth spending a few more hours with, because it is a decision that's going to affect a lot of things going down the road. So I know it's, we're trying to move things forward and everyone's under the gun. So I get wanting to just kind of go with something that's working and move forward. But yeah, I appreciate you doing a little bit more research into it. And then maybe we can kind of circle back end of day or tomorrow and then make a call and move forward from that.
Sure thing. So one more thing to add, like now we got another reason to kind of stick with 0.20 is that, remember we have we wanted to generate typings for the ABIs. So Corner kind of find a library, a package basically, TypeChain, which kinds of is pretty good, and it quickly generates the ABIs in TypeScript from the JSON contracts. So that again has Web3 of 0.20 requirements. So,
Yep. Yeah, I think we're going to find that a lot. I think there's a lot of package dependencies that are still on that version.
Stable version, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's great. I mean, I really appreciate all the research and thought that's gone into those decisions, because as trivial as they seem right now, they're probably pretty important as we build out more dependencies and have more people building on top of Market.js.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else that you guys want to bring up? I think that's covering most of the kind of the main topics here. Looks like we have, Casper joined. Casper, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm not on video. It's late in Asia, and you don't want to see me in my current state. But we're an advisory team that's working with Colin, Phil, and Seth on helping market, fundraise, build community, do meetups, etc. in Asia. So we cover pretty much everything except the engineering portion. So obviously can't really contribute on this call, but it's so helpful for us to listen in just to hear kind of what's going on, what's the dialogue like, etc. So going forward, plan to listen in on the calls and probably mainly be a passive listener, but to the extent there are any more commercial questions or anything specific around Asia, you can always ask on the call or just reach out to me separately. I'm also happy to send around my contact details to the extent anybody wants to get in direct touch also.
Awesome, Casper. Yeah, I'm glad that you're planning on joining us, and thank you for joining today. You guys have been a great help to us in a lot of ways. It looks like there's maybe one other person that joined,
Yeah.
Fox.
I would add, maybe I'll add one thing, Phil. Just I was going to say, we're super excited to be working with Market, and we're also actively considering how we ourselves build on top of the protocol once it's ready, i.e. fund or seed or hire a team to actually start rolling out products on the protocol, because we're all former finance people, and we're very excited about the prospects and want to be quickly out of the gate because we think this is going to be a very successful protocol.
Awesome. Thanks for that addition. That's also really helpful for us to know as we kind of think about making sure that our services are accessible to people that actually are the end user that want to implement or be users of the protocol. So that's all very helpful. Fox, do you want to introduce yourself? All right, I guess we just, cool. Well, I appreciate people that just joined even to listen. I'm glad you guys are here. And, feel free. We'd love feedback on these calls, on the structure of the calls, the agendas, topics. We really want to make sure that we're incorporating community into the development process and making it as inclusive as possible. So I think that's pretty much everything. Robert, you look like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, I'm just poking around here. So, and I just wanted to circle back around. So, there's a project, and I just posted a link to it. And I don't know if we've looked at this, but it seems to describe a release workflow, including the version number, generating the release notes, and publishing the package. And I think that's what we're talking about here, right? So check that out. There's also ways to enforce, to say, hey, here's what a commit message should look like. And therefore we'd get some consistency and building those release notes based upon the commits. So this could be a tool that could be useful for us.
Yeah, I've seen that one before. This one, it's actually a bot, right? Part of it's a GitHub bot.
I just came across it, and so I haven't really poked at it a little bit, but yeah.
Got it. Oh, let's look into it for sure. I had kind of seen it a little bit before and agree that it looks like there's some really great integrations there to help us with those releases.
Okay, just wanted to throw that out there. So I'll shut my mouth now.
No, it's great. Again, is there anyone else that wants to say anything before we all hop off?
One thing I want to ask you guys is, can any one of you just go to our website and try to click onto any social media icon in the footer? Lower left corner, green icons are icons.
Yeah, and?
Do they open an associated social media channel?
A new tab. So Twitter went directly, new tab, to the Market Protocol Twitter page, homepage.
In the footer on the left side, the
Correct. And then the Medium one did the same thing. The GitHub one did the same thing. And this is the marketprotocol.io, not the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see the same thing in Chrome.
Something's not right on my end then. Okay.
If you're having issues, maybe take some screenshots and
I will.
post what browser
I'll
you're using, and we can try to
yeah.
work through the issues on GitHub for sure. There's we're constantly releasing stuff, and that was definitely a big release that happened yesterday on the website. So it's possible there's issues, and let's definitely address them. So I think posting issues in GitHub's probably the easiest way to make sure that we're tracking all of them.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for the call today, and look forward to seeing everyone again next week.
Bye. See ya.
You guys.